Good Wednesday morning, everybody. It's Wednesday and it's time for Lunch with Al. And here, this is where I interview interesting people. Now, my story has been accused of being interesting by some people, but today I have Suhail who with me today, and his story, I think it is very inspiring. It inspired me. And basically, this is my brother from another mother. He and I have been through so many similar things. Both of us are married to women that had breast cancer. Both of us had serious heart problems. And Suhail will tell you about that one. And so we have both been on a very similar journey, but we didn't know each other while we were doing it. So, all right, let's start off. Suhail, how long have you been whole food plant based?
Yeah, so we started in 2016, right after my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and so my daughter did some research, and she felt strongly that we should be changing our diet, switching to whole food plant-based diet, especially like eliminating dairy and stuff. And we figured, if my wife, if she had to do it, what better way than all of us doing it together?
What a
Uh,
good idea.
yeah, to support her, and that way, we couldn't help her much as she was going through her treatments, but this was our way of supporting her
Yes.
to make it easy, and so that we all feel like we are on the same journey together. Yeah, so that's
Okay. Now, obviously, well, I've just asked you what caused you to become plant based, but I know the story. So could you elucidate just a little bit,
yeah.
please?
Yeah, so I mean, while for the first 6 months, while my wife was in the acute phase of treatments, and all when all that was happening, we were doing really well. And then once that phase, we moved on to a more sustaining phase. We started like slipping off the diet, and it was weekends and so forth. And then over time, we were still like doing it, but we were not compliant, to the extent that we should have been. And that's when in 2019,
Hmm.
I had this massive heart attack, what's known as the widowmaker. So the odds of survival with that is, if you're not in a hospital setting, which I was not, I was at home, is like about 12%.
And it wasn't, correct me, isn't it true you didn't have any pain?
Yes, yes. So I completely like underestimated what was happening to me.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. Yeah, yeah. Luckily, my wife was with me, and she picked up, and then she got me moving on, trying to get some medical attention right away.
Did
And
you call an ambulance?
interestingly, because I wasn't feeling like like a
You
severe
didn't have any
pain.
pain.
Yeah, so I was telling my wife, let's why don't you just drive me, it's so what happens is, right, in that situation, you can't think straight. So yeah, I mean, advice to anyone is, if you think there's something wrong, call 911 and
Yeah.
get to a hospital. Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah, so and I show up at the hospital, and basically the moment they saw my EKG, they called a STEMI alert. What's basically, they had the code go on the address system, and next thing I knew is there was like a team of doctors and other support personnel, coming all over, and that was the start of it.
Now,
And yeah,
Sabina, your wife, is
yeah,
an MD,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And she knew the cardiac surgeon that took care of you, right?
yes,
And
yes.
what did he tell her?
Yeah, so basically, I think while I was, he came out and he spoke to her, and he told her that if had we been about like, 19 or 20 minutes late, I wouldn't have made it. And
And
it
how long were you in the hospital?
I was there for about, I think 4 or 5 days. because
Yeah.
this Widowmaker, right? I mean, I had like it's basically a 100% blockage on to your main artery that supplies blood to your heart. So
Yeah.
it took a pretty big hit. So it took me, I was in the ICU and for a couple of days, and then
So how are you
slowly.
doing now?
So I'm doing. I think I'm doing great. I felt like I had a pretty good recovery, and if I recall, I mean, in the right after my procedure when I came home, it was, I was, in terms of, I used to be an athlete, and I mean, I used to play squash, and I was pretty, into a lot of sports. But it was difficult for me to like go walk uphill, and I was having like dizzy spells and stuff. So it was very difficult. So compared to where I am now, I mean, I feel like I'm, fully functional. I'm able to like, you know walk or as much as I want. I don't have any issues as such. Yeah.
And what benefits have you received
Yeah, I
from
mean,
being in this lifestyle?
yeah, the benefits are like like they say, right? I mean, the only side effect is all like is all positive. So I is my recovery was great. The second thing is even like minor I haven't been falling sick as often, like from the common cold and flu and all that stuff. And in general, right, I feel a lot more energy. I don't, I mean, I feel a lot better now for sure.
Did you lose any weight?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I lost, I had to go change my whole wardrobe. I lost about 40 pounds, I mean, once, you get rid of the oil and all the animal proteins, right? I mean, the weight just comes off. It's effortless,
Do you miss any food you used to
you know
eat?
I not anymore. Like there was a stage, like in the beginning, right, when we just got on it. I'm I missed, and that's probably the reason why we also like slipped. But now I feel like I mean, I think it's a huge price to pay. I mean, the trade-offs, right? I mean, I don't want to take um, you know the high risk of having a secondary,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, have you ever been tempted to fall off the wagon?
Not anymore. I mean, like I know at times when when in like with friends, especially like family, like these special occasions.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I used to, but not anymore. I feel like it's not worth the risk, right? I mean, if I'm going to be in the ICU, no one's going to take my place, right? I mean, it's going to be me. So
Yeah.
I don't have to do this for anybody else.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you could give just one suggestion to someone that's thinking about or is starting on this lifestyle but's having a little problem, what would that be?
Yeah, I think is to one is to do this together as a family. I mean,
Yes.
convince each other. There's a lot of good information there, but there's also a lot of like muddy information. So you got to really spend the time to learn and be well informed, and but then do it together. It's a lot more. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like you reinvent yourself, right? I mean, you're starting a new phase in your life, so it's good. And then the second thing is also, right, I mean, it, another advice is um, so in terms of like social pressure, friends, and other situations, you got to look out for yourself and do what's best for you. So that's what I would say, is like just doing it because everyone is a carnivore and you're in that company doesn't mean you don't have to make anybody feel good by just going along, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
I agree.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it,
Well,
Suhail. I really do.
thank you. You've been a great inspiration for me too.
Oh,